It's transfer time. It's the middle of July, and the news is happening fast. Here are 4 transfers we got to talk about. Join the conversation on this week's episode of the SlabStox FC Show. What's going on, everyone? I'm Andrew at St. Croix Cards, and it is all about the transfer market. I got to tell you, it's the most wonderful time of year for me. I love to see what clubs are doing, how they're strengthening their teams, how some clubs are maybe even becoming weaker with the movement of some of their big names. But there have been some massive transfers that we have to talk about. So we're going to jump right in today, and there is no transfer I think bigger than the Jude Bellingham transfer. This 20-year-old midfielder from Birmingham City to start, to Borussia Dortmund, now to Real Madrid, a move that cost $111 million. Now, I know Soccer Cards United have dubbed the 2020 class the Jude class, and this guy is pure class. We've been watching it. We've seen the market. We know that he is a very big deal in the midfield for England, and now is going to be the midfield at a very talented and very loaded midfield at Real Madrid. Last year in the Bundesliga, 31 games, he had 8 goals and 5 assists, even played extremely well in the Champions League for Borussia Dortmund, 7 games, had 4 goals and 1 assist. But you know what? The market, we've got to take a look at it, and that card that I want to look at today is the 2020 Topps Chrome Bundesliga. This is the Gold Wave PSA 10. So this is numbered out of 50. This is a pop 6, so it's extremely rare. It's a very low pop count, but I thought this card did a good job of showing, kind of a holding of value of sorts. July 8th, this card sold for $1,149. It was a best offer, and it got me to thinking, with such a low pop count, that PSA 10, only a pop 6, what were some of the cards, maybe have any of them sold beforehand? And if so, when did they sell and what did they sell for? So you're thinking about 1150, July 8th, rewind to October 28th of 2021. So you almost have to go 2 years to see what this Gold Wave refractor was doing. Now, 1150 was the most recent sale on July 8th, October 28th. In 2021, very different market, very different world we were living in. This sold for $1,543. Now, in my head, for a card, of this magnitude out of 50, low pop count, to go from, 1,543 to about 1150 over 2 years, and we've seen the market really correct itself. To me, that 1150 is not as bad as you think. Now, I expect, this big move. A lot of people maybe expected it. You start to see prices climb or even get to a point. I don't think we're here in 2021. We're not going back to 2021. But we can look at that 1150 and think that's a very healthy sale for a Gold Wave out of 50. There's no auto, just Gold Wave out of 50. From 2020 of Jude Bellingham, who's now 20 years old and is going to anchor the midfield at Real Madrid, if all things go according to plan, for the next decade at least. So really pumped about Jude Bellingham's move. I'm really excited to see what he can do in La Liga, but just a great young talent. And I think a lot of us, we've been talking about him for now, since 2020. He's only 20. This is something that when they burst onto the scene at 18 or 19 years old, it almost is like, yeah, we've been talking about Jude forever. Yep, we have. And he's still good. He's still getting better. And now he's at one of the biggest and best clubs in the entire world. But if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have $1,150 to spend, that is okay. There are other options that you can look at. The thing that I love about the soccer card market is that, if you can't afford the high end, there are some still great options for some of the top young talent out there for some affordable pricing. Now, one of those might be that 2020 Topps Chrome Merlin. First year of Merlin. This is the green refractor rookie out of 99. It is a raw copy, and you can still find the raws that are out there. This one sold July 9th for $69. So for under $70, you could have a Jude Bellingham rookie card, green. And I know some people are like, I'm not a big fan of the green, but here is a numbered rookie of Jude Bellingham under 100 for $70, just about $70. So then it got me to thinking, where has pricing been before? It's actually come down a little bit. just in the past, June 13th of 2022. So, over a year ago, this sold for $90. Now, just last month, you had one copy due $100, but for under $100, for under $90, for $70, you could have a Jude Bellingham rookie numbered under 100. Raw copy out of Merlin. So I like the options that are out there. There are a lot of options out there. Make sure you're doing your research. Merlin and Topps Chrome are not the only brands out there, so you can definitely find stuff. If you're into autos, there's autos out there as well. Going to cost you a little bit more, but Jude Bellingham, big move to Real Madrid. Now, the next one we're going to talk about, I could not be more thrilled. I could not be more excited about this. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and go, you paid a lot of money for Declan Rice. I get that. I understand that. But talking to my West Ham friends, they say Declan Rice is the leader. He is awesome, and they watch him week in and week out. The thing that got me, though, was I think it's going to come around to about $132 million. The Jude was, I think, in euros. The sales that we're all seeing from Declan Rice, and this is not a for sure done deal yet, but I had to talk about it. I was too excited. Declan Rice anchoring Arsenal's midfield for the next 5, 6, 7 years. It's going to be awesome. So 2022-2023 season in the Premier League for Declan, 37 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. But we all know that he's not an attacking midfield. He is going to be that rock and anchor in defense. But Europa Conference League, 11 games, he had a goal and assist. But he led that West Ham team to a European trophy before he exits to Arsenal. Really looking forward to this. And then I thought to myself, as an Arsenal fan, where do I want to start to look? Well, 2019, Panini Chronicles Contenders rookie ticket. I love the team all. I love the reds that are out there. And this one sold July 7th. $52.86. Now, remember, the team all, those released, the exclusive Asian release, but one of these, $52.86, they're a little bit more rare than the regular or traditional rookie tickets. But for $52, $53 for a PSA 10 for Declan Rice, again, it kind of shows a lot of the market moves to who's scoring goals, who's making the moves, who's really kind of getting on the stat sheets. But this guy does so much, and I'm really excited to put him in the Emirates and see him go. But $52.86, pretty decent pricing, if you ask me, for a player who is still just 24 years old and coming into a very, very young and potentially, contending for the Premier League title, not to mention now in the Champions League. Great to see Declan Rice moving to North London and joining the Gunners here. Now, some of the other pricings that we've seen, these are all PSA 10s now. And this pricing at $50 has really been a cut rate for a while. There is one that sold June 6th for $135. And then May 28th of last year, this card was doing $200. So for me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of more of a fan. Like, I want to get some rookie stuff of Declan Rice. I want to make sure I can put that away and make sure that I have that there as he becomes a Gunner. And you can maybe say maybe you should wait until the transfer stuff dies down. But I was looking at pricing and thinking, that 50 range looks pretty good. Love Declan Rice. Can't wait. But that is big money to spend. But for me, as a fan for Arsenal, I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? I appreciate that you are going in. You have a vision. Arteta, Edu, they know what they're doing. They know what they want to do. And they went after it, and they got a really, really, really great player in Declan Rice. And I can't wait to see how that roster fills out here as we start preseason in not just too long. The other players that I wanted to, this is player number 3 that we're looking at. And this was big saga, right? Mason Mount, 24-year-old midfielder, helped Chelsea to win the Champions League, was supposed to be, came up through the academy, was one of those kids that you always thought that they would be a Chelsea player. That is not the case. Kind of contract stuff breaks down. He makes the move to Manchester United, and it was for roughly about 69, almost $70 million. Really didn't have a fantastic year last year, but we could chalk that up and say Chelsea just didn't have a fantastic year last year. Went through a number of managers, 24 games, 3 goals, 2 assists. And I should say, out of the, 38 games that you can play in the Premier League, he only played in 24 of them. It wasn't as if he was being benched. He was injured for most of that. He was struggling through some injuries and couldn't get on the pitch. So, 3 goals, 2 assists don't look like great numbers. Champions League, still had 4 assists over 9 games. Mason Mount, I think is quality. Me personally, I think he's a great player. And to put him with Ten Hag at Manchester United in a midfielder of Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, I mean, he could do some really great things at Manchester United. And I think, his market has kind of depreciated a little bit here in the past year based on the fact that he wasn't scoring goals and he wasn't meeting expectations and the expectations that we as the collectors and the fans put on these players to produce week in and week out. It's crazy to me how these, sometimes prices ebb and flow based on just a few poor performances. And for me, I always like to play the long game. If I believe in the player, I've said it before, do you believe in the player? Do you believe in their ability? And if you do, ride the lows, because if they're quality and if you're right, the highs will come and other people will recognize it as well. So we're looking here at the 2019 Panini Prism Premier League. This is the Blue Ice out of 99. July 5th. This is a solid sale for a raw copy of this card. Sold for $200. $200 on July 5th. Pretty high sale for a card under, this is the rookie. It has the rookie logo on it. I really like the aesthetics. It's more of a color match too with the Chelsea logo. I don't know how these cards are going to do long term. If I'm a collector and I'm going to collect Mason Mount and I'm a Manchester United fan, I probably want him in the Manchester United kit, or I would want him in an England kit. I'd love to know your comments on it. If you're a Manchester United fan, if you're out there and you're thinking, I'm going to start collecting Mason Mount, are you buying any of these cards, or rookie cards, or cards in general, in the Chelsea kit? Would love to know your feedback. I have my own personal opinion, but I would love to know yours. But this one sold July 5th for $200. And then if we rewind just a little bit, in March, this card did $230, $250. So it's down a little bit. And there's reasons for that. Again, he wasn't playing towards the end of the year. But the thing that really shocked me was this card was doing $338 in November, end of November of 2022. Now, if you remember, if we go back, if we start spinning our wheels, what was happening in November of 2022, we all know it's the World Cup, and he did get on that World Cup roster. So there was a lot of people who were excited about the World Cup. Dare I say, even some hype to the World Cup. And Mason Mount, they're a raw price of this 2019 Prism. This is the Blue Ice out of 99, sold for $338. So it is depreciated a little bit here over the past couple months. But with this move to Manchester United, be slotting in with really quality players, Bruno Fernandes and even Casemiro anchoring that back, could allow him the time to really get the ball out there. And it could be to Marcus Rashford's or Antony's of the world. So he's going to be able to kind of, be the conductor in that midfield, I think. And you're going to see a bounce back season from Mason Mount starting at Manchester United. Now, the last one I want to talk about is one that maybe we don't know as much about, but here is Dominik Szoboszlai, 22 years old, making the move from the Bundesliga, RB Leipzig, to the Premier League for $77 million. Now, I tried to do us a favor. You see it in pounds. You see it in euros. I have tried to put most of these transfer prices into dollars so we can kind of compare them all together, and I'm not throwing pounds or euros at you. But $77 million going to Liverpool. I think this is going to help them. I do think they struggled last year in that midfield. He had a pretty decent season in the Bundesliga, 6 goals, 8 assists. Champions League, 8 games, still had a goal and a couple assists. But putting in a system with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool with all of those attacking options, I think is really going to be great for not only Szoboszlai, but also for Liverpool itself. They are going to have that midfield presence, the person who can get the ball to those forwards. Dare I say, maybe even a little bit, that Kevin De Bruyne, maybe not. I'm not saying he is Kevin De Bruyne, but if Szoboszlai is able to kind of conduct again like the midfield, I think we're looking for a lot of these guys who can find the passes, get the ball to players in a position that they can score. Szoboszlai could do wonders for Liverpool as they look to bounce back from a semi-disappointing year last year in the Premier League. Now, this is his Mosaic Euro purple. This is out of 70. This is his rookie. It does have the rookie logo on it as well. I like the aesthetics of this card too. These are those fluorescent cards that came out for the Mosaic Euro. This sold July 7th. July 7th, it sold for $199.99. So I thought that was a pretty solid sale. And unlike some of the other ones that we talked about in kind of, you're seeing them depreciate as they make their transfers. That price of almost $200 is quite a bit up from April. April 26th, this card did $80. So we're seeing a great jump there, moving from RB Leipzig, in the Bundesliga all the way to Premier League Liverpool. There are going to be a lot more people who are focused on him and are starting to look for his cards. And then even further back, if you go all the way back to last summer, July 11th, we were all kind of, in summer mode. This card sold for $64. So 64 to 199. We've made quite a bit of jump on this Mosaic Euro purple fluorescent out of 70 over the last couple of months. Now, I do think that these are four of the biggest ones. And the best part of the transfer market, and I don't know about you, is that it is always turning. You are always looking, always checking in at who's moving clubs, who could go elsewhere. And these were just four. These were just four of, I thought, some of the biggest moves and some of the moves that could have the biggest implications, especially in the Premier League. Kind of push Jude Bellingham aside. I know that was the La Liga buy, that was to Real Madrid, and could have great pieces to the Champions League, and to La Liga itself. But most of these are Premier League. We know that the Premier League tends to spend the most money, but these are not the only four. So I want to take a minute. I want to take a couple minutes. I want you to think real quick on, what other transfers would you want to highlight here? What are some of the other ones that maybe, if I said these are four of the biggest ones, what are the ones I missed? What are the ones that I didn't talk about here quickly, efficiently as we looked at cards? I would love to talk about them in the future. But you know what? As you're thinking about those, I did put up an honorable mention that I think we just need to kind of comb through. Because like one of the best things about the content that anybody produces is that, I give you some nuggets on some of the transfers you probably already know. We're looking at prices, but those are not the only transfers that have happened. So again, if you know the market, if you know the players, who are you excited about? Who do you think fits into a team's system? And who do you believe in? And then go and say, okay, where have their prices been? Where are they now? Where are they going? So if they're extremely high after the transfer and you're saying, you know what, they're too high right now, I think maybe they'll come down. Or, like a Mason Mount. I believe in Mason Mount, you're saying. I think he's going to be fantastic at Manchester United. And look at where his prices are compared to where they were right before the World Cup. Maybe now is the time that I could get a card that I couldn't get back then. But here are some of the ones that I do want to mention because I just think I eat this stuff up. If you know me, if you talk to me, I could talk transfer market. It's even sometimes better than in season because there's so much going on day in and day out. I'm the one checking my phone way too much. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Are there any here we goes? So here are a couple of the ones that are done already. Kai Havertz, interesting move from Chelsea to Arsenal. I don't know how I feel about that quite yet. I do know that he's not a traditional number 9 where he was playing at Chelsea. So you bump him back into the midfield at Arsenal, and you have a Havertz, Odegaard, and Declan Rice midfield. I think that looks pretty good. He's really good at getting into space. I'm excited to see where that one goes. Sandro Tonali, AC to Milan to Newcastle. Newcastle is doing their due diligence, building a midfield, building that spine. They still have Alexander Isak at the front, but Tonali, I think Gomes is still there. They've got a good core group of people. I don't know how Tonali's going to do in the Premier League. I do like his talent. We'll see what happens at Newcastle. Everybody that I know, all the Chelsea fans, really, really excited about Christopher Nkunku coming from RB Leipzig to Chelsea. They do need a striker, minus the whole what's going to happen with Lukaku. Doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Wants to go back to Italy, but was told if nothing's done by the 17th, he's got to show up at training. So you could have Lukaku, you got Nkunku, you got plenty of options at Chelsea. They've got a really young squad. They've really been turning it over this summer. So check in if you haven't seen some of their outgoings, some of their ingoings. There's a lot of it. We'll talk about one more before we end here today. James Maddison moves from Leicester City, relegated Leicester City. Crazy to think that they just won the title a few years ago, already relegated to the championship. But James Maddison moves to North London, to the other North London club in Spurs, and will be in the midfield there. Kovacic, I think, has kind of gone under the radar, happened really quick. Mateo Kovacic moving from Chelsea to Manchester City. I think that is a big move. And Pep always seems to get the most out of his midfielders. So it's going to be really exciting to see what he does at Manchester City, as they just seem to always just reload and push for more. I mean, what can you do What can you do more than the treble that you already accomplished last year? The only thing I could think of is if you could get the quad and win 4 trophies, if you throw in another domestic cup. But really, just Manchester City, fantastic year last year. And finally, the one that is an interesting one to me, not only do you have Nkunku, who's probably not going to be that out-and-out striker, Nicholas Jackson, Villarreal to Chelsea, I thought was a big move. I thought it was a smart move, young attacker. I think he had a decent number of goals in La Liga with Villarreal. So it'll be interesting to see what he does at Chelsea. They got to kind of work out a few more. They've got some guys that still need to leave. But, a lot of movement happening in the Premier League. I am just extremely, extremely excited about transfer market as we push into preseason. We have so much to look forward to in this next year. We have so much to look forward to every year. That's the best thing about soccer, is that there is never a dull moment. We go from transfer market to season, to transfer market, to the end of the season, to another transfer market, and we just do this over and over and over again. And as fans, as collectors, we're just along for the ride. So let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts. If I missed an honorable mention, drop it in the comments below. I would love to know who you think are some of the biggest transfers and who could make the biggest impacts on their clubs here over the next year and beyond. So that's all I got for you today. I cannot wait to see you all again. Might look a little bit different because as well as I do, there is a major event happening here at the end of July. Could not be more excited. And maybe I will see some of you all at the National in Chicago. So stay safe, and we will see you all next time.